Boo, it's a ghost movie. But also kind of like a Hallmark movie. Jamie?
Yeah.
Let's go watch Kiss Me Goodbye.
And welcome to another episode of Good Times, Great Movies. Here we are as we gather. We do this every 2 weeks, and we discuss a movie from the 1980s. We get into it. We wrap our heads around it. We discuss it.
Try.
Yeah, we try. There's two of us here. There's myself, Jamie Lorello, and my 80s... Are you alive? Are you a ghost? What are you? Anyway, it's DP McCambridge.
It's the we. I love how you were like, we do this, we do that. Oh, also, it's not just
right.
And maybe I am a ghost. Maybe we're all ghosts.
Right.
And we just don't know it until somebody points it out.
Right.
Until Sally Fields tells us to fuck off. We don't really know that we're all ghosts.
We don't. We don't until, yeah.
I have a lot of questions about what he is.
Well, he's...
Like, is he a ghost? Is he a figment of her imagination?
No, he clears
when
that
I say
up.
I have lots of questions, I have
That's
one.
the one.
And it's basically, what is he? What do you think he
clears
is?
that up for her, that he is not a figment of her imagination, but he is like a... What does he say? He can't do physical things. He's almost like he's the spirit that has to kind of close up ties, you know? Like, is
But
he a
Jamie,
figment of...
isn't that...
Go ahead.
Isn't that just what a figment of your imagination would say?
I mean...
Like, a figment of your imagination wouldn't be like, no, you're just imagining all of this. They'd be like, no, I'm a ghost. You're not crazy.
But he knew things. For some reason, he knew the things.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Yeah, for some
I don't know
reason,
why.
he knows
Did
the
she
most
die too? What was her name? Wait, I wrote it down because they say it so many times, and I'm turning pages. You can hear it. Denise Del Furio.
I certainly
Denise
can.
Del Furio.
Sound like you're at a news desk. What?
Hi. Update. Denise Del Furio. That was the girlfriend that they talked about.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I thought you meant Sally Field's name.
Oh,
I really
don't
had
remember
trouble.
Sally Field's name. I knew the other two because they kind of stood out. It's Rupert and Jolly. Jolly.
Holy shit.
Our
yes.
lead
Yeah. I mean,
is Jolly.
Sally Field's name should have been like Beeples the Clown or some shit like that. And I'd be like, oh, great. I love all these characters' names. Because to say Jolly, thankfully, at one point, Jeff Bridges is like, what's with this dude's name? Because everybody's yip-yapping about Jolly. And I'm like, this is the dumbest name I've ever heard.
Agree. How are we supposed to take this man seriously? How are we supposed to think he's a playboy with a name like Jolly? Is he old Saint Nick?
And those
I don't understand.
hats and constantly tap dancing.
Big portraits of himself in his office.
Exactly. I think
and a puppet of
there's
himself.
a lot to question about this movie. I think one is James Caan's character.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. Like, I don't... Oh, also, we're talking about...
Oh, yeah, we just jumped right in it. I think we were so excited to just get...
I really am.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, sorry, listeners, but we just jumped right in.
No, yeah,
Which we
apologize.
often do.
It's Kiss Me Goodbye from 1982. It is a star-studded... And I'll get to this character when we get to this character.
Yeah, you will.
A super... We said that we haven't done a Sally Field, a James Caan, or Jeff Bridges movie yet.
Yeah.
Her good friend Emily, she's been in a movie and was unrecognizable and was barely in it.
What was Emily?
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
I like the little teaser. I like it.
Yeah. Yep. Kiss Me Goodbye from 1982, which is a rom-com with supernatural elements. I think that's a fair way to describe it, right?
Yeah.
Also, before we get into this, can we talk about just how smooth Jeff Bridges looks?
Yeah.
He looks
it's a
like
good-looking Jeff Bridges.
It really, but he also, nobody in this movie Like, if this were not an 80s podcast, I'm not sure I would know when this movie was made.
Oh.
Jeff Bridges looks like he's on campus as like a physics major in the late 60s being like, why are you all protesting the Vietnam War? Like, he does not look like he's in the 1980s. James Caan looks like he might be in a movie in the 40s. I'm not entirely sure. Sally Field looks maybe the most 80s, but everything they're wearing also looks so like comfy, cozy too.
Yeah,
Jeff Bridges just has sweaters on the whole time.
Yeah, and even her wardrobe, it's not outrageously 80s. It's not, and she's Sally Field, so her hair. Actually, she's got really cute dresses and outfits that she pulls off in this.
She's very breezy.
Yes.
Like, everything is light and breezy, and the most high-waisted, giant flared, like, blowy pants you've ever
And it works
seen.
for her. She works it.
It really
Yeah,
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
This is a cozy movie. Like, this movie, I told you before we were just recording for patrons that it was kind of what I needed, because it pretty much, I know they go other places. This is almost like a single location movie with 3 characters. Nothing for there being a ghost and stuff. It's not complicated. I had no problem following the action. It's like an hour 40. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that I really love this movie, but this is the first movie in a very long time that I took in a single viewing, and I think that says something.
Wow.
I didn't have to break it up into 2 or 3 sections.
Okay, so it breezed by for you, just like her clothes. You just felt as comfortable as she did in her outfits. All right.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about it. And then, because, I mean, I kind of have an idea how you thought about this. But
let's just say I'm uncomfortable with how comfortable you were with this movie.
Really? Wow. You know what this movie is? I think this is it's so different than stuff that we normally do on the show.
Is.
But also it's different than, I remember movies like this coming up on HBO randomly, where it was a movie that was rated PG, but I would watch it and be like, I think this is for adults, but it's rated PG. Like, I don't think those movies are made anymore. Like, I feel like movies for adults are like genre films, or there's a lot of sex, or there's a lot of violence and stuff like that, or it's movies that are made for kids. Like, I don't, or maybe I'm just not watching these types of movies and they're still made, but I don't know the last time that I saw a movie rated PG that was clearly just like, kids don't get this and won't care. This is for adults.
I guess, do you not watch a lot of cable movies or like Hallmark movies? Or
Oh my
right?
God. Oh no, Jamie, I think I'm rethinking my whole viewpoints on this movie, because you're right. This is entirely a precursor to every Hallmark
It's
movie
got
made.
a little.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm really mad.
I mean, I know where your 2022 is going.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm only judging all of those Hallmark movies by previews I've seen and posters that I've seen. And I don't like them at all. But now, if you're telling me they're like this movie,
I mean,
maybe
here
I
you
should
are.
start to-
Here you are with your LaCroix and your glass of wine, getting all excited to talk about this sweet, cozy little rom-com. What do you think?
Oh, boy.
I think you better subscribe to the Hallmark Channel if you don't already.
I think listeners are in for a new me
Yeah,
this
I'm
year,
ready. I don't
as well
know.
as a new you.
I'm ready to see where it takes us. This is exciting.
Wow. I do have to say, I think I might, there are certain listeners that I've heard from in the past where I may be misleading them, and I don't want people to think that they should watch something just because I like it. When I raved about Yentl, I had several people who watch things because, not just because I recommend them, but I had several people being like, this is terrible. Why?
There
Yeah.
I disagree.
So
there we agreed with the Yentl. We came together on Yentl.
We did, yes.
You fell in a mutual love, as I had already, with this
we're
wonderful
not going to
film.
agree on this. This was difficult for you?
It was.
Not enjoyable?
No.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it was sad because I was excited about the cast.
Sure.
I see what you're saying about the breeziness of the characters and the, but I'm just going to say it. We're just 2022. We're turning things
Let's do
around.
it.
I thought it was so stupid.
Okay.
I just thought it was. I don't know. I see where they were going, and there were some funny riffs that she had with him, or that she had with the ghost. And then when they got to that little inn where they were, and there was that other couple there was some fun little hee moments. But at the bottom, at the end of the day, I was just like, what are we doing? I didn't even think that her and Jeff Bridges liked each other, even in the beginning.
Neither did I.
As a couple,
okay. Yes.
right? I was like,
No,
why are
as a
these two
couple,
getting married?
yeah.
They don't like each other. And then,
Yep.
well, we'll get into it. But when I saw how Jolly died,
Oh, Jesus Christ. This tap dancing fool tripped and fell down, 3 steps?
in
and
slow
bonked
motion,
his head on
in beautiful slow motion, and I love what we do at the end there with Jeff Bridges. Oh boy. Well,
I needed him to fall out a window, like a flowers in the attic thing or something.
you wanted
like
a little
that.
more dramatic.
Yeah, that was really silly how he fell
Totally
in slow motion
goofy.
and
Totally goofy.
bonked his head
He
on the
does all
ground.
this traveling, right? Supposedly because he's this
Oh.
choreographer.
Also, this movie's just about rich
Oh, they're
people
so
hanging
how
around.
wonderful is that house that she lives in that she's gone
Could
away
you
from?
imagine how much that would
She
cost?
hasn't had it for 3 or 5. Where has she been?
3
Where has
years
she been?
she has not lived there. I was like, where have you been staying? Like, does she have multiple
Well, that's
homes?
what I didn't find this romance relatable. I didn't find this where was she staying?
At the end, when she's like, I love him. Even I was like, do you
don't
though,
know that you
Sally?
do.
Do
Yeah.
you? I don't think you do. I know why he would love you. You're Sally Field. You're adorable and you're fun. But also, I'm not sure that he loves her.
No. In the
I'm
beginning, he's having a conversation with his boss or somebody at his work, and the guy's
His boss, who doesn't know his name, near the end of this movie, he keeps calling him doctor, whatever, and he's like, my name's Rupert. Like, this is your boss. This guy hired you.
as an anthropologist, right, in a museum. Is that Rupert's job?
Yep. Yeah. He's an anthropologist in a museum, and his boss is an anthropologist too, who used to be a priest.
Oh,
and
yeah. How
also
does that
was Molly
work
Ringwald's dad in that movie we watched.
How did that work out?
Oh my God. All right. So
let's just do it
we're
because
jumping
we've
all
been like
over the
pepper
place. Yes.
spraying.
Yeah. So, I was kind of in on this movie, as I told you before, from the beginning.
Yeah.
They're playing a titular song that's
They
just
really
like,
are. It's
Kiss me goodbye because you live in New York in this giant house. And we're just hanging out. Like, it is light and breezy, and it's just Sally Field and a dog. And I was like, I really could go for a relaxing movie where we just hang out with Sally Field and
Shakespeare the
that's
dog.
What this movie
Shakespeare
is.
the dog.
Yes.
You're
You didn't laugh at the end when that guy's trying to exercise his body from that dog.
shake. No, I felt bad for the dog. I was like, quit shaking the dog like that.
Holy shit. When Jeff Bridges jacks a dog up against the wall and is threatening it, I really was laughing. At that
I was
point.
not.
thought it was
I felt
really
terrible
great.
for the dog.
All right. Okay.
You see how we
this is
viewed
so much
things
fun.
in this movie so differently.
Boy.
Yeah.
No, I feel like we were on the same page for all of Jamie Lee Sember. We loved First Blood. I miss us differing on movies.
Well, get ready to get with it.
All right, great. So, all right. So we find out basically that Sally Field, don't know her character's
No, I
name.
don't remember.
Doesn't
No.
matter. She's Sally Field. She's like reopening this house. This used to be her
Yeah.
house, but it's been dormant for 3
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
All the furniture's covered in white sheets and everything like
Is
that.
that something you do when you leave a house? You cover it in sheets?
I've never had this opportunity
No,
to
same.
to leave my house that I own and go live at a different place that I own for 3 years.
And just leave it
But
completely.
stuff gets dusty.
Or sooty. That's what her mother says. That in the city, it's sooty. And they're in a city. We're going to assume New York City.
That's what I
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah. even though, like you said, location-wise, we're not taking too many places, but we know we're in a city, a fancy city. So
No, we never leave the Upper West Side or wherever we
Yeah.
would be if we were in New York. Like we don't go into Manhattan. Maybe we go upstate.
we don't even
for
see a
brief bit.
skyline to like really say this is our city. But yeah, it's New York,
No,
we think.
no, it's almost like the Cosby Show. The only time we're outside, we're on the steps up to this house.
Well, we're in the restaurant for a little bit, in the museum for a little bit. We sprinkle some places that we're in,
Right,
but
but-
mostly
but
it's the
really-
stairwell. It's
It's a gorgeous
Yeah,
house.
beautiful.
Later on, when she's like, "Well, you can have the third floor, and you
I
can
know,
have
I
the
was like,
attic, and I'll take
Jesus
the second floor." I'm like,
Christ.
"Wow, how big is
I know,
this place?"
I know.
But we get a sense of it when she walks in, and I love how, for as big as this house is, it appears that any floor you're on, you have no privacy. Like everything is French doors into everywhere else. In
very
this entire
open plan.
house.
Very open plan.
Yeah, very much
Yeah.
so. So her mom comes over and her mom like starts nagging her that she's marrying. She refers to this guy as a grave digger. And I was like, okay, you're just being mean. lady.
She's
And
very
she really
mean to
is.
him. She doesn't like him.
She's very
Yeah.
mean to him, except at the end when everything turns on a
Yeah.
dime and she's his best friend.
Because he almost falls down, but then he's okay. Maybe she doesn't like the dog. She was glad he shook him like that. I don't know. But yeah, at the very end, she's like got her arm wrapped around him. But in the beginning,
Yeah.
she doesn't like him. We don't know yet her feelings on Sally Field's ex-husband or former husband. They never officially divorced.
Right.
But we do know from the
Because
get-go.
all this is kind of like, yeah, it's like she was married to this guy named Jolly. They talk about this as though it's not a bizarre name whatsoever for a very long time in this movie. But Jolly died in this house, and now Sally Field is ready to move back into this house with her new husband, and they're going to get married in, I don't know, let's just put a week.
Yeah, it's
I
really
have no
close
idea.
timing for the wedding. And
Yes,
so the mom thinks basically Sally's all decisions are wrong. The decision to be with this new guy is wrong. The decision to move into the house again is wrong.
Right.
And partially I agree. Like this house is beautiful. Although yeah, a lot happens. I don't know what our timeline is. So this house is beautiful, but your husband died here, and there's obviously a lot of memories attached to this home. Maybe sell it, start fresh, right? But instead, Sally does decide that she's just going to redecorate, new wallpaper, new paint.
Right.
Again, all of this happens really quickly.
I don't think it's a bad idea to stay.
No.
I mean, we understand soon that it is because she's seeing ghosts,
Yeah.
so maybe that's not, that might be a red flag. But I think she could, like she doesn't seem tortured or bothered by this at all. She seems very enthusiastic to be like, well, yeah, this is like, at the time, what, million plus, $2 million home here. Like, sure, maybe they could buy something else, but the place kind of is already furnished
Well-
or whatever. But it becomes weirder when we find out that there's an entire dance studio
Yes.
upstairs. And I'm
Yes.
like, well, wait, aren't you going to have to rip that giant wall-sized mirror down and, I don't know, tear up the flooring? It does seem like way more work than is probably
And again,
worth it.
in a real life situation, I know we're watching a movie, but in a real life situation, wouldn't you want to just move on and get it new? Now, here's the thing, though. She does bring Jeff Bridges over to see the place, and when he's like, "Oh yeah, this place is amazing. Can't
Yes.
get anything like this anywhere else." Now he's sold on it too, and.
Right.
and
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because her mom's even like, well, why would your new husband want to live here? And my thought is, why wouldn't anyone want to
great
live here?
place.
This is
Yeah.
amazing. I don't know what shitty apartment Jeff Bridges on his anthropology salary, and I don't know what anthropologists
Hey.
get paid, but it's probably not as much as Sally Field gets for doing
well, she
nothing.
was a writer. She's going to go back to writing.
Yeah, she was. She's like, maybe I can write for that magazine again. Rather than, I don't know, sponging off her inheritance
I don't know.
from her dead rich husband, or her mother seems to have a
Yeah.
lot of money. I don't know. It's family money. So Jeff Bridges, whatever. You want to live here? Fine.
Yeah.
I'll stay. So her husband. Okay, so let's get into Jolly because we really have to talk about Jolly because it's kind of just Jolly's movie. We are given context clues, very confusing context clues as to what Jolly did. Perhaps he was a tennis player because we see a trophy with a guy swinging a tennis racket. Maybe he's a puppet enthusiast who has a portrait of his ass up on the wall.
I thought it was pretty clear that he was some sort of entertainer, and I didn't think it was a tennis racket. I thought it was a microphone, but maybe
Oh my God, I thought it was a tennis racket. I thought he was just
Maybe.
a Renaissance
Maybe
man.
it was a tennis racket. I assumed he was some sort of entertainer because he, like you said,
Okay.
he's got the
Well, you're
puppet,
right.
he's got the big portrait of himself. When she's going,
The point, Jamie, let's please not gloss over this portrait. I've never seen a portrait like this in my life. It's a portrait of him facing away from whoever's painting it, but
Over the
turning
shoulder.
back like winky
Yeah.
wink. Check out this
Yeah.
ass. It's the weirdest looking portrait I've ever seen in a movie.
yeah, well, and why she doesn't get rid of it sooner, I don't know. Isn't it in the house for a while, even after they do the remodeling? Isn't it still there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like taken down, then it's in that room, then it's just moved to a different room. It's not thrown into an incinerator like all the rest of the furniture.
Oh yeah, well, except for the chair. That story she makes up about the chair and why they can't take it. Oh my God!
All right, there were times. Listen, I will give you. There were times where the comedy did not
No.
work.
They
but there were-
tried.
I think some. Listen, when Jeff Bridges is at that cottage and that other lady is there and he's talking, he's trying to pretend that he sees
Yeah,
a ghost
yeah.
too, and the lady keeps saying, "I see her," and when he goes, "She's not there, you crazy bitch."
I did love that. I did.
I really laughed.
I laughed out loud
watching
at that too. That was pretty good. I did like that.
Yeah. And I laughed out loud when the guy was trying to exorcise him from the dog, and the other guy's locked in the room behind him.
That was a weird little extra there where they block that guy in the room. I'm like, why are they making this guy fix?
That
Who is that guy, first of all?
bumbling idiot.
Is that like
I
your
don't know.
stepdad?
The only two times he's here is he gets locked in a closet, and then he can't hang a picture straight.
Oh, at
earlier
the
in
dinner.
movie.
That's right. But we don't know if
Yeah.
that's an uncle or who that is.
Don't.
Okay, so we only meet one. We know. Well, have we met Jolly yet? Yeah. Well, we're about to.
No, we haven't met him yet. It takes.
We
a little
hear the
while,
little tap
but-
dancing feet. We know she's got
Right.
little.
Yeah, she starts hearing
Yeah.
tap dancing as she's walking around the house.
And we know we get to see that it's James Caan that was Jolly just from the picture. That this was her husband. He was some sort of tennis playing entertainer.
Exactly.
And yeah.
So also, I think we should mention that Sally Field's friend Emily shows
Oh right.
up. And Emily.
Oh yeah. What is she from?
You know she played, and I couldn't even. I had to look it up. I had to look at pictures. She was the mom from Fright Night.
She was.
Yes, she was the mom from Fright
How
Night.
did you
who
look at her and it-
started working nights? It was on IMDb.
Ah.
Started working nights and then left him dinner and everything
Oh,
like
yeah,
that. Like
yeah.
she's barely in that movie, and in this she has kind of a pretty big role.
Well, she's the only
or
friend
at
that
least
we
a pretty
see.
important-
That's her best
Right.
friend, and it's the only friend. They have dinner, like we said, with these two older guys and her mom and the best friend. We do.
Mm-hmm.
So Sally goes out to eat with Rupert is Jeff
Yes.
Bridges' character.
Well, let's.
Did
I'm
I
sorry,
fast
I
forward
don't-
ahead? I apologize.
Yeah, just a little bit. I know you're excited to be away from this movie, but very quickly we do get a very quick flashback of how James Caan died.
How do we forget about that? Oh, well, let's say that. So as she's walking through the place, she does have these little glimpses of memories,
Right.
and Sally Field. I mean, that's not the start of her career by any means, but she's got those little faces, that whole little Sally Field thing that she does, where she does all these like emotions.
Yeah.
That was kind of gorilla-ish, but hers is much more
Right, yes.
professional.
It's a good thing she can't see what we're doing on this podcast, and she can only listen to you make gorilla noises.
Well, I was trying to put anyway.
She's expressive.
There you let's say it like that. That's much better
Yeah.
to say it like that.
It's a positive way to
So
say it.
she has these visions, flashbacks, if you will, of like a party going on at the house, and she has these moments where she's like almost startles herself because it feels so real to her, right? And so then she has a flashback of the party where the incident happened. And please, if you'd like to tell us.
I just don't. It's so strange that this decision was made, that James Caan died by falling down the stairs. Now, they're in a New York house, and the stairs are kind of like straight up, and there's 100 of them. It's a ton. But when we see his flashback, it appears that he's on the third step up and just loses his balance and falls down on the floor, and we see him conk his head on the floor. And even when I saw this, I thought to myself, well, that can't be how he died. Like, that must just be some weird incident.
Right, that she
But
remembers
no.
happening on the
Yes.
stairs. Yeah.
But that is how he
That's
died.
the end for him. Well, and it was a party. It was a big old little party they were having. And he was kind of flirty and dancing with ladies and doing his thing.
Tipsy?
Yeah.
Maybe there was a bottle of booze just hanging out on the steps. You're not
We don't get
sure.
any scandal.
what's
We don't
going
know
on.
if he was a big drinker or, what he was. But we do know, like I said, yes. And
Even what could be referred to as a scandal in this movie is kind of shrugged off at the end, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh yeah, how he
I had my suspicions. All right. I mean, what are you going to do? Yell at a ghost all day long? I
seriously
guess, but
it's
still.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a strange choice that this is how he died. But anyway,
Goes along
so-
with a guy named Jolly, though, to be honest.
right, exactly. Yes, is Jolly short for anything? Nobody ever refers to him as anything.
I
but
know. I
Jolly.
wish we knew if that was just his stage name, but his name is like Jeremy, but they call him Jolly or Jerry. I don't know, but Jolly it is.
I don't know. But so then, after all this, Sally Field's like, all right, I got a date with this new guy. Well, not new guy. The guy I'm going to marry, Rupert, Jeff Bridges. And we're going to go out to a restaurant. And at this restaurant, we start to get a real sense of, her mother already let us know how different these two
Yeah.
are. We start to get a real good idea for how different
Yeah, what
they
a
are.
different personality. Yeah, I love it. Her
Yes.
mother calls him a nerd. Jeff
that
Bridges
is
is a
so
nerd, and
great.
she's like, "Mom, where did you even learn that word?" And her mom's just like, "I don't know. I just look at him and I think nerd, nerd."
It popped into my head when I first saw him. I love it. I have never heard anyone call anyone a nerd in a movie I'm going to say 1990. So this was a bizarre movie to be like, did she just say nerd? Also, later in this movie, when Jeff Bridges is talking to his coworker about a ghost, his coworker his coworker says, "Just bust him," and I was like, "What is this?" And I looked and I was like, "Yeah, I knew this was before Ghostbusters, but how? How did that? Like, was that a term for destroying something or like bust him?" It blew me away when I heard that guy say that. I think this movie might have a lawsuit on its hands. They're still making Ghostbusters movies now. Nobody's making a Kiss Me Goodbye again, unless you count every Hallmark movie.
Now I don't know that they always die in a Hallmark movie though, but I think there's some special ones where
Do you know that this is the plot of at least 5
I'm
Hallmark
sure.
movies?
I'm sure.
guarantee
Yeah.
you. So at dinner, first of all, some guy comes up. His name's Michael.
Several
and she's
guys
like,
keep coming up.
Michael. Yeah, then there's another dude comes up. I like how this second guy's like, "Hey, you look really great. Why don't we, sneak off to the bathroom or something?" And the whole time he's just sitting there. Rupert's just sitting there.
Well, what's interesting to me is now the two of them are getting married. Her husband died like 3 years ago. You would think that they had had a couple of dates around the city before. And because here's what, and unless this is, I don't know, maybe they decided, and maybe I missed this part, to go to a restaurant that was close to the new house. And so there's a lot of people from the neighborhood, or they're not even from the neighborhood. Most of them are dancers of some kind. So they know her obviously through Jolly. And they're like performers. They're like, Broadway people. So they're kissing her not just on the cheek, they're kissing her straight on the lips when they say hello.
Yeah. I love how he's like, anybody else want to make out with my wife?
And
while we're here, anybody?
This is not the way he operates. But like I said, it's strange to me that this is the first time. Is this their first dinner out together?
Yeah.
But that's how we're essentially introduced to how very different he is and her lifestyle was before. Because obviously, when she was married to Jolly, this sort of thing was commonplace, and
there's parties all
day.
And
people hugging and kissing, and you look great, and how great are you, and interruptions on dinner, where clearly Rupert Jeff Bridges just wants to sit and have a nice dinner, a nice glass of wine with his wife, and talk about their future wedding plans.
I read it as though we were to believe that she's been out of the city or something like that for 3 years, because everybody is really like, where have you been? I haven't seen you, stuff like that. But also, like, I don't know, does he work like at the Met? Like, he works in the city. He works in a museum in the city. So it's very strange to think like they haven't been out anywhere where she would have run into people. But again, New York City is not a small town. It's a pretty big city. So maybe that is the case. But I do want to say, and I'm sure this was part of your problem with the movie, and I think what connected with me was the jokes. I did find this movie pretty funny. Maybe you didn't, but we don't need to talk about that. But my biggest, if I had to point out a big problem with this movie, is I don't think Sally Field has chemistry with either of these two actors.
Oh, yeah.
Like, nobody seems to, they can quip off of each other and do these comedic bits, but these two, like you said, for them to say that they're in love with each other, I don't buy it. And for me to try and imagine a world where Sally Field and James Caan would be together, I can't even imagine that scenario.
Yeah, no.
So it just doesn't feel right. It
doesn't feel natural at all for either. I agree. Neither relationship, do I believe, was a loving relationship. Like I said, I don't believe these two should be getting married. I don't think the other two should have been married.
Right, yes. I do have to say at this dinner, one of the better lines was when she's hugging and kissing one of these two guys that walks in, and Jeff Bridges just says to the other one, "You must be a dancer." And he goes, "Nope, I'm just a feminine." I thought that was pretty good. But he does point out, like, hey, you didn't introduce me to any of these people.
Right.
We barely sat down, and 5 people have come over here, and you have not introduced me.
She
to
doesn't
any
even
of
say
them.
to any of them, "This is my fiance. I want you to meet." But they don't ask. They're just really all about who she, seeing her.
They don't ask, but I don't know. It's polite to introduce.
Well, and again, if you're in love and you're about to
people.
get married to this person in a week, you want to say, "Oh, by the way." But again, maybe that's a little awkward because she clearly knows these people through Jolly. And do you want to have that awkward moment where you're like, "Yeah, Jolly's freshly dead, and I've already found someone else, and we're moving into
Have I ever
Jolly's
told you
place."
that I am so bad with names that Carla now has decided, and she told me she's going to do this. It has happened so many times where we'll be out and we run into someone that knows me, and I don't know this person, so I cannot introduce Carla to this person, that she will jump in immediately and introduce herself to the person, so they will then say their name.
I have an agreement
very
with Barrett.
helpful.
I'm terrible. I am terrible at remembering names. I love saying hi to people, but I just don't. I don't. It's this weird thing that I don't even take it in when people tell me their name.
Oh, that's fine. That's fair.
I'm just happy to be meeting a new person, but I don't know. So yeah, I've had that issue too, where I can't introduce them. So you just got to jump in and say who you are.
There was a time I had a conversation with some woman at the grocery store, and Carla was just standing there, almost like Jeff Bridges. The whole time I'm talking to this girl, and then she walks away, and Carly goes, "Who's that?" And I'm like, I don't know.
know.
I don't know. I have no idea. Yeah. All right. So after this, we see that the house is like getting prepped for the wedding.
Well, yeah, because at the dinner she begged him. So apparently they had some other place they had picked out for the wedding. But at this dinner that they had together, she basically looks at him and she says, you know, you like the place. Why don't we move in together before the
Right.
wedding? And he's like, are you sure? I don't know. And she's kind of like, I really want to. So yes. And then she says, and I have an even better idea. Why don't we just get married at the place? And again, he's kind of
Right.
like, but we have to cancel then the other arrangements. And she's like, so cancel them. We've got this place. And he's like, all right, whatever you want.
Yeah, it's really like, but your mother invited 200 people. And she's like, well, we could just cut that in half or whatever. Like, this is very strange. Like, the whole thing is strange. Like, now it starts to, you know, for him, it should be raising
Feels a
red
little
flags.
forced
Like,
on him. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so attached to this house, we now have to get married in
Yeah,
the
we're going to move. And I'm moving in right away because she's like, let's just move in before
Right.
the wedding. So, yeah.
You know what? She is a real weirdo. Because even later on, when she's like, I could just sit in the house all day long and write and never leave the house and stay in the house all the time. That is kind of bizarre.
She is a.
All right, so she is just kind of trying to get away from all the movers and everything like that. And she goes upstairs to the dance studio.
Oh, yeah.
And she hears tapping.
Yep.
And then she runs downstairs into, I guess it's Jolly's office where his big ass painting
Is this where
hanging.
his hat is hanging up too? She tries on his
Yes.
hat for a second.
Right.
Yeah.
But this is where she either sees a ghost or has a break from reality because she finally sees Jolly. He shows up. And also, they're fighting immediately. Like, immediate. Because she starts yelling at him and he's like, here it comes. Now you're going to pick something up and you're going to throw it at me. That's the way this always happened. And I was like, this seems like an unstable and unhealthy relationship. I don't know what Sally Field is up to. Like, what kind of person she must be.
Well, yeah, they clearly had a spicy relationship because, like you said, they fight right away. She's going to throw things at him.
Yeah.
She does her Sally Field thing where her whole face goes through all these emotions. She's scared, she's sad, she's excited, she's happy, all within the same 3 minutes. Her face goes
You're
through
really
it.
into this. I want you to do a bunch of Sally Field faces and put them up
Okay,
on
will
Instagram
do.
so that then I can find screenshots and just do a compare and contrast.
I'll work on this. I will.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. And right from the jump, we get a sense of what this movie's going to be because it's just James Caan as a ghost doing sassy jokes about New York rent and needing his own phone if he's going to stay in the house with these two.
Yeah, he's committed to stay. This is where he clarifies. He's not, because she tells him, what can he do? Can he like throw a lamp or move something around? And he says he's not a physical ghost, he's a mental ghost.
Right, which makes me think like, wait, does that mean he's just in her mind, but then later on, like you said, with the proof of his existence or whatever? I'm confused. Like, after you die and you're a ghost, you have all the knowledge of the universe and all he can think of is one woman's
Yeah,
name.
I don't know how he got that. Like, yeah, I don't know how he knew that.
But you have to be in a room with a person and
You
then
sense,
you know
yeah,
everything
you get
about
all
them.
their history. You download it all. I don't know.
This movie kept making me think of Ghost.
Like the movie Ghost?
Which is-
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
a lot more interesting.
Not just Ghosts. I mean, this movie made me think of Ghosts a lot, but the movie
Oh,
Ghost.
the movie Ghost is a lot more interesting, I have to say.
Yeah, I would say that Patrick Swayze is a better ghost than James.
Well, and the whole storyline, he's murdered and she has to find the murderer. Like, this guy fell down drunkenly in
This
the
guy
stairs.
bonked his
Yeah.
head. Although, and here's the other thing I found fascinating, because I looked at this and I was like, how old is James Caan? Like, but he's one of those people that just looks like an
Yeah,
old man.
yeah.
Because I looked into this. I loved this. He was 4 years older than Sally
Okay.
Field. And Sally Field, 4 years older than Jeff
Oh, look
Bridges.
at that little
Yeah,
ladder there.
Really
yeah.
nice. Yeah. So anyway, so he's there yip yapping and tip tapping and dancing and doing whatever, just being an annoying ghost.
And she does have a minute where she goes through, like, am I seeing you for real or am I having a mental
Right.
breakdown? What is happening? And that's when, like I said, he clarifies. No, this is what I am now. I'm a
Yeah.
ghost and I'm here and I'm going to be staying here.
When she's even like, My therapist told me if I keep seeing things, which makes me think this is not the first time this has happened, where she's like, I'll just close my eyes and then I'll open them and
Yeah.
he's totally
Yeah.
gone. But of course he's not.
Right.
So let's talk about this chair thing, because her mom comes up to move a chair that James Caan is sitting in. And for some reason, Sally Field, listen, I don't know anything about ghosts, but if a ghost showed up to me, the first thing I'd think is, I'm the only one that can see this
Right?
ghost. But for some reason, Sally Field is terrified that everybody's going to see him. So she covers him with a sheet on the chair, and then the movers are going to move the chair, and she starts freaking
She
out.
goes
and talks
into
about,
this lame story that I'm
Come
sure
on,
you
let's
thought
talk
was
about it.
so funny.
I
Where
kind
she's
of
like,
enjoyed this.
you can't take that chair. And they're like, what? It has sentimental value. What kind of sentimental value? And she says, my husband was born in that chair. My fiance was born in that chair.
Yes.
It's a tradition that happens in his family. All the women in his family, they sit in a chair and boop, then they're born. There's my husband, except he was a baby. That's ridiculous.
Come
It's
on.
just
That's
no,
great.
it's
That's-
not. It's not. I get it. She had to find a story to cover up why she's freaking out about this chair. But at the end of the day, she's freaking out because she thinks that, like you said, mistake A, she thinks that everybody can see the ghost that she can see, right?
Right.
Then mistake B, she goes into this long-winded lie about and even the mother's like, what the fuck? Because everyone's like, what is this chair have sentimental value? And she's like, that's right. And I like the mom does bring it up later. She's like, well, you're the weird one that's born in chairs.
Yes, that. Okay. Now, I did not really enjoy this. I didn't think it was very funny. But the fact that it paid off later, and the fact that the payoff was her mom being like, well, we all can't be born in chairs, and the fact that Jeff Bridges did not bat an eye at that at all during dinner, I found that part very funny. Okay, fine. All right. So anyway, finally they take the sheet off the chair. Nobody can see Jolly but her, and the movers walk him out. And I don't know, she thinks that he's out of her life forever. There are weird times in this movie where she'd just be like, go away. And then he'll go away. And I almost feel like, does she think he's gone for good? That he's not going to come back?
Nobody does, even at the very end.
All right. So now they have dinner. She and Rupert have dinner with her mom and her friend Emily, and I guess the priest that's going to marry them. And I think the priest is kind of hitting on Rupert. Did you hear this priest? When they're all talking about Jolly and how, like, in shape he was, the priest looks at Jeff Bridges and goes, this guy seems pretty rock hard to me.
I didn't hear that.
It's pretty great. The whole time there's another guy, like you said, don't know who he is.
He's trying to hang
Don't
up a
know his-
picture. Yeah.
he's trying to hang
I don't
a
know if he's an
picture, and it's
uncle
not straight.
or yeah, he's an older
don't know.
gentleman.
It's never
At the
stated.
dinner, he comes back later. She's sort of, I don't even know if she's preparing dinner. She's more like getting drinks in the kitchen. And Jolly comes back, and she openly talks to Jolly when he's around. And I guess it's kind of funny when this is a little funny bit too, because she'll talk to Jolly, but Jeff Bridges is in the room, but she'll say things to
Right.
him like, shut up, don't say I love you. And he's like, what do you mean? She's like, don't say I love you with dirty dishes in your hand, of course. Like these silly
Yes.
little, like improv
I like it at the cottage when she
exercisey.
tells that old lady to shut up. And she's like, what did you
Yeah.
say to me? No, yeah, it's very... If you've ever seen a movie where somebody is talking to a ghost and someone else is in the room, like that's what these gags are. You've seen it 1,000 times, and I must really like it. Like for some reason, that type of dumb comedy must work for me.
You were giggling.
Because I can't think of a time that it really bothered
You were
me.
giggling at it. Oh, all right.
Yeah. I do like how she's talking to him and people just keep coming in and out of the
Yeah.
kitchen. And there's one point where Jeff Bridges is walking back into dinner with her mom, and you hear her mom say, did you know that Jolly's show is still running on Broadway? It's the 9th longest show to be running on Broadway. And Jeff Bridges goes, oh, stop. You're just saying that to bore us.
Yeah. Well, because it's true.
I
This
really
whole
found-
dinner is about how awesome Jolly is.
Oh,
It's
Oh,
almost as if
this
they
is-
know they can see the ghost, and they know Jolly the ghost is here in the house, and they're
Yes,
celebrating him.
It's almost as if the actors did not know that he was
Yeah.
a ghost during this
Yeah.
scene, and they were just instructed, listen, you're just going to say great things about James Caan. Like, try not to make direct eye contact with him,
right.
but all you're going to do is say great things about him, because this is really over
They
the top at
even
this
go
point.
into the story, and I think Jeff Bridges asks her to do it. Like, tell us that story about how you guys eloped, because that's the thing. Her mom's sort of excited. That's why there's 200 people invited to the wedding, because when she got married to Jolly, they eloped, and
Yes.
there was no big wedding. So she tells the story about when they eloped and when they got
Yeah.
married, and the midget man or something like that. I don't even remember.
Yeah, suddenly it's like there's a midget there. It was so funny. Oh, Jolly's
And you
the
could
best.
see-
You know what the
and I
best
don't
thing about
blame
Jolly
him.
was? Is that he was Jolly.
Rupert
Yeah,
is fuming.
He's losing
He's
it.
like,
Yes.
I can't have this dinner. And again, this is a dinner supposedly like a week before they're getting married, and all she could talk about is this guy. I'm sorry.
This really was the most strange and uncomfortable scene in the movie, because they're all piling it on so much about how great Jolly is, and you just watch Jeff Bridges sitting there kind of taking
Was
it.
this the most
Very,
strange, or
very
was
strange.
the making love scene strange to you? Was that weird to you too? The next scene?
Wait, do you mean, was it weird or was it great? Jamie, I think we have different ideas about this movie. When he says, I love your breasts,
She
and
says,
she
"There's
goes
my
to
Aunt
Aunt
Edna's."
Edna's, I laughed so hard. That's so dumb, but I found it really funny. Oh, God. Yeah. So they're having sex or trying to have sex, and James Caan is, again, just like hanging out in
Yeah.
the background, talking. He's sitting on the bed. That's when he's playing with the little vases that are her Aunt Edna's.
Yeah.
Just her yelling, they're Aunt Edna's, and his response just being, what?
Yeah.
I really thought it was great. And this is when she finally fesses
Oh,
up.
yeah.
Because she's like, okay, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm
Well, because
seeing
now they're
ghosts."
trying to make love, and she keeps kind of talking about random stuff, and she says, I'm jabbering on in ecstasy. And he was like, what are you even meaning?
It's like, nobody says
And then
that.
she finally does sit up, and she looks at him, and she
Right.
just says, here's what I'm going to do. And I did enjoy this, because James Caan is just sort of sitting right next to Jeff Bridges on the edge of the bed, and is like, I think you should go ahead, tell him, kind of encouraging her. And when she does say what it is, he says, you got to explain it to him logically, remember, because he's like an anthropologist, and that's the way he thinks. So she does. She like conjures up the right words to say, like, I'm seeing an apparition, and it is what it is, and I did like when James Caan is like, great, I thought that was a great job. I think you did awesome. And Jeff Bridges just starts getting dressed and is just like yesing her.
Right.
Okay. And she's like, why are you just yesing me? And he's basically like, because you're fucking crazy. You're telling me a week before your wedding that you're getting visits from your dead husband. And it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, he has just had a day, a jolly, and not in a good way, a jolly day, where the dinner was all about
jolly-filled
jolly,
day.
and now he's trying to make out, and the jolly is there, and now. So, yeah.
When she tells him that she's seeing ghosts, and he goes, are you on your period? And her response being, women don't go around seeing ghosts when they're on their period.
I did like that response. Are you on
Very
your period?
funny. Yeah. So he's about to storm out, but you know what? He was telling her, because for some reason, why? And again, this is just to write it into the script because nobody has this conversation. For some reason, when they're like making out, she says to him, are you ever thinking about anyone
yeah.
else when we're having sex?
Oh.
And he's like, who does he say? Guy
Yes.
Lombardo, the band leader. And then he tells this story about how he lost his virginity to some, I don't know.
Denise
what was she,
Delfiro.
like a waitress
caterer's
or something
daughter.
Like that. He doesn't use her name. The caterer's
Yeah.
daughter, right. So when he's storming out, it's almost as if James Caan doesn't want this relationship to end for some reason. And he says, just yell out Denise Del Florio. And she does. And then Jeff Bridges is like, wait, what? And then she says, well, my dead husband right now is telling
Yeah.
me that that's the woman you lost your virginity to, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, explain that, smart guy. And I kind of get it from his perspective because he's like, I don't know, I could have said her name in my sleep. Because listen, if you're telling me you see ghosts, you need more than one person named.
Well,
to
and the
convince
one
me.
person, like, it's not like they were buddies that grew up together, and so that's how the ghost would know that information. Like, it's like we said, it's really random information for him
It's
to
very
know.
random
You know
for
what I
him to
mean?
know. We're not sure how he
No.
knows how he got
No.
this information. But nothing about being a ghost is explained. He at one point says, I died here, so I'm here. But those are the only rules that are explained.
Yeah, that's what she explains to Rupert too. It's like, well, here's the thing: he's
Yeah.
going to stay here because this is where he died.
Yeah, but also he appears to be able to come and go as
And
he
travel,
pleases.
he could
It's
leave
not
the
like
place. Yeah,
Right. It's not like he's a ghost up all night singing to Whoopi Goldberg so she'll help him
Right,
out or something
right.
like that. Like he just disappears from large chunks of time in this movie and then also can take road trips with them so he's not locked in this house.
no.
All right. Anyway, so Rupert then after this blow up, he goes back to his museum and he gets all boozy with the janitor and talks about ghosts.
Yeah.
And,
And learns
also
how to
says
dance.
to
The janitor teaches him
Yes,
some dance moves.
Says to the janitor at one point, "Can you dance?" And the janitor goes, "Yes, I can." And proceeds to tap
Yeah,
dance.
dabba, dabba, dabba.
Never in my life has somebody said, "Can you dance?" And immediately in my mind, I'm like, I guess they must be tap dance. So I don't know how this actually happened.
Well, and he's trying to teach Jeff Bridges how to do it. Showing him how to kind of flap and tap his foot on the floor.
Exactly. Right? Mm-hmm. And while this is happening, James Caan and Sally Field break into an old theater, and James Caan tap dances a bit. Nothing
Well,
really
they have a
happens
little
here.
conversation where he's like, I mean, I guess he says, like, were you sad when I died? And she's like, no, I was mad. I was mad at you for dying. I was like, she kind of goes through her therapeutic emotions, her grief, and that she wasn't necessarily sad. She just got angry with him. And, you know, again, you don't ever feel like she loved him.
No. No.
She
No, I
missed
feel
their
like-
life together more than she missed
Right.
him.
Yes, exactly. I feel like this movie should really end with Sally Field being like, you know what? I think I'll be better.
Yeah.
I think I'm just
I think I
gonna hang
need
out
to
in
be
this big
single for a
house.
little
You know
while.
what?
Yeah.
You do your anthropology thing, whatever. You're doing a great job with that. Just
Keep
keep it up.
on.
You seem married to your work or something. I'm sure you'll meet somebody really nice. Or the other thing I thought was going to happen, I thought for some reason he was going to end up with Emily because he and Emily are also talking
yeah.
almost as if they're colleagues. She's visiting him in his office later on. And I was like, I thought she owned a magazine. Does she work at this museum too?
It's weird. She blurs a lot of lines, that Emily. Yeah.
Right. Also, I don't know how Rupert gets this idea, but after watching the janitor tap dance, he's like, what a great idea. So he decides to go to a divorce lawyer for a scene that means nothing in this movie. And the divorce lawyer's like, dude, I heard it all. Lay it on me, brother. And he's like, hey, can my fiance divorce her dead husband who comes to her as a ghost? And then the scene
Yeah.
ends. Like, that's it. Nothing. The end of this scene is him getting in an elevator and trying to push the buttons, and a guy saying, you have no body heat, buttons don't work. And I'm like, that's not how buttons work.
Well, that's when I was like, wait, is he a ghost too?
That's I was like, maybe he's a ghost. Maybe everyone that that she sees are ghosts. All those people at the restaurants that were kissing her have all died.
passed, right? She's in this weird.
Her mom's dead. Emily died. It was tragic. What an interesting Sixth Sense reveal
Right?
that would be to this movie. All right, so this is when Emily comes to him.
To Rupert.
First Emily goes to her, and Sally Field's reaction as she's planting stuff outside of her New York apartment.
yeah.
She's got like gardening gloves on and everything. The way she talks to her friend is literally, she basically says, well, I got this ghost hanging around now, and you know what? I don't know who to do. That's really what she says.
Ridiculous.
Very ridiculous. So Emily comes to talk to him. His boss tells him to go bust that ghost. Again, can't believe that. I cannot believe it. But, also, I did think this was kind of funny because I really want to know the guy, I don't know if he's a decorator or what he's doing. She's the guy who she hands him her dog at one point, and he like clumsily. He's in Ghostbusters as the hotel manager. Remember when they like bust up the whole room to catch Slimer? He's in Ghostbusters, and I'd like to think he showed up on set and was like busting.
And they were like, "We're going to use that. We're going to use
Right.
that." That's great. He's like, "It's from a little thing I did with Sally Field." And,
It's a little thing I did. Listen, nobody saw it. Nobody's
It's not a
gonna
big
even
deal that I'm even
notice.
going to remember. It's fine. Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about, is it Sally Field's idea to sort of...
I think it was
go on a
Emily's. I
trip?
think it was her idea.
It's Emily's,
that they
okay.
needed to get away for the weekend and get some space.
It is Emily's idea. Because she's working with Jeff Bridges.
Yes.
Because he calls her at one point and it's like, this is not
Yeah.
working out
Yeah.
at all. But her plan is for them to... listen, I'm going to make some assumptions here. All go on a trip together and have a threesome at some point.
Oh, with the with the ghost.
Like, yeah, like go to this bed and breakfast, get out of the city, take the ghost with you, and pretend that the ghost is real. I think.
I
is
don't know what the
Emily's
plan
hoping.
was because you would. Well, yeah.
It's a
Emily's
horrible plan.
plan is, why don't you kind of side along with her that this is something?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's weird that the idea is not, why don't you guys work on the house together, and while you're working on the house, you could work on her relationship to the ghost. Instead, they go to, supposedly this is the bed and breakfast where these two met. What's happening? Tappity tap.
Nothing. Sorry, tappity tap.
Right? Because that's Emily. I think that's right. Because
It's like they met at some old lady's B&B.
right. But
Right.
because even when they get there, well, they don't get there first. They stop at the diner.
Oh, they're not there. They have to go to
And that's a
diner
whole
first.
weird exchange. Okay, so yes, what it turns out to really be is Sally Field is stoked because she's like, great, all three of us are going to go and have a little romantic getaway, and I'll decide there if I want to keep the two of you or choose between the one or the other.
It's almost like that game show that was on TV in the 90s when it was like they bring up these three dudes and they'd all go on dates with this girl together and then she'd have to choose which one she wanted. Like, I feel like that's what she's doing here.
But one of them is not real. But
Exactly. Jamie, you're not telling me
So,
anything I don't
when they
know.
drive up in this cute little car that Jeff Bridges drives, this cute little convertible, Sally Field is
Yeah,
sitting
this
in
car
the
with
back.
no top. They're all wearing like heavy coats and stuff in this car because the top's down and it's October.
And Sally Field's in the back because she claims that Jolly gets car sick. And then there's a joke between the two. It's just weird. It's just not funny.
They're joking and laughing, and Jeff Bridges is just sitting
She's
silently
giggling.
driving this
She's
car.
giggling at the jokes that Jolly makes. And again, Rupert is trying to be a trooper about it because that's what the friend told him that he should do. But he's kind of very annoyed. So they decide to stop and eat at a diner. And now he's like, all right, I'm just going to play into this. I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to make him. So when they walk into the diner, he says, we need a seat for three. What does my friend want to eat? And now the people at the diner,
You mean this mom and kid?
even the waitress is like, what the fuck? But the mom and the kid, so obnoxious. Mommy, that man is talking to a guy that isn't there. How does he really
He's
even
talking
know
to
that?
a chair. He's talking to a chair like Clint Eastwood.
How
at
does
that
he
thing
even
where he
know
brought the
that,
chair.
this kid?
I-
That's a nosy
he-
little kid is what that is. I would tell him, mind your own business, kid.
I thought it was great that this kid said, Mommy, that man's talking to a chair. And her response is, now, son, that's his privilege.
It's privilege.
Such a bizarre back and forth because then Jeff Bridges is even like, that's right, son. That's my privilege to talk to a chair. Men fought and died in this country so I can talk to a chair. And I was like, what is happening in this
Oh my
movie
God.
right now?
Oh, and in the meantime, Sally Field is kind of pissed. So Jolly's having just a jolly good time with it. He's just kind of looking at Jeff Bridges thinking...
Jolly's even starting to get annoyed.
Well, and she even says,
like,
you're
Jeff
kind of annoying
Bridges is
Jolly
having the
right
best
now.
time.
You're kind of annoying
Yeah.
Jolly right now. But she is so pissed. She's like, I don't think this is how we're supposed to do this. And when we're in public, we can't be like saying... But in the meantime, like, you're kind of a jerk. So you mean you have to take a vacation with this ghost. You are in the middle of lovemaking and talking to this ghost, but he can't, on the other hand, be at a restaurant and say, fine, you want this ghost to be part of our lives? The ghost is part of our lives.
Yeah.
She's pissed about it. She's like, this isn't how it goes.
She's very unreasonable. It really, she's a very strange person in that she wants to, for some reason, live with her new husband and her dead ex-husband and doesn't want anyone to think this is bizarre. Again, I don't think she wants to leave that house. I think that she would be happy just doing this at the breakfast table.
Strange
just
one.
having these little like in jokes with James Caan where they laugh at her stupid current husband. It's very, very weird. But thankfully, after a little bit, they leave this diner and they go to this B&B. And this lady, like, the old lady who owns this gives them information that is, like, the amount of times that she's just like, also, there's another couple here. They're younger. They're in love. I think they're recently married. I'm like, what? This doesn't mean anything. We're at this place for one scene.
And this is the only two couples, though, right?
It's a great scene. Yeah. It's a great scene. I will say this might be the best part of the movie. Because Jeff Bridges calls Emily. And he's like, this is not working. She's totally fine with me and her dead husband hanging out. And Emily's like, well, you know what? You got to do everything you can. You got to go to plan B or whatever. And he's like, okay, here I go. So
and then he
while
gets
they're
himself
all
caught up
hanging
in the
out-
phone wire, and that's a whole goofy thing.
Boy, you were really annoyed by this. I sat and watched that and went, that's charming. Okay. Right. Okay, so while they're all hanging out, he starts to say that he sees Monica. Oh my God, Monica. Oh, a woman that I used to be in love with who died. I see her.
Well,
She's a ghost.
And then the other couple is there, and the lady and the other couple was like, I see Monica too.
I think I hear her.
And at
So
first,
Sally
Sally
Field's
Field is with
freaking
it.
out.
She's like, oh my God, what do you see? But she's listening to Jolly.
But then Jolly says nobody's
Yes.
there. Right.
And now Sally Field instantly is pissed and is like, you're just doing this because you want to prove me. Again, with the attitude. Same attitude we had at the diner. Similar attitude when we were at the restaurant earlier. And she's like, I can kiss everyone I want. And guess what? We're going to get married in my house where my dead ex-husband died. Or my dead husband died. I don't know. I keep forgetting. They're not whatever.
They're not. They didn't get that divorce. That didn't
No.
work out.
No.
So now, I mean, now it's just a series of like wacky things that's happening one after the other because this young lady, like we said, keeps walking around going, I think I hear her, blah, blah, blah.
And this poor
Finally,
old
he
lady is
freaks
so
out.
confused about what's
This old
happening.
lady is just standing there frozen the
Yeah.
whole time. So finally, I don't know why it took this long. I guess James Caan has had enough of this. And he says to Sally Field, hey, let him know that you know that he didn't really sleep with Del Florio, that he found his father sleeping
Right.
with her. She tells him this, and now he's totally convinced. And also at this point, Sally Field breaks up with both of them and goes
She's
home.
had enough. She goes home with the couple. Because now the couple, that other couple get into a fight because they can't decide. He's like, leave them alone. There is no Monica. And she's like, there is a Monica. They're fighting over whether or not the Monica ghosts exist.
Right.
And then she decides that woman decides to leave and they're going to go together. Girl power. Yay. Boo men. again, I think
Sure.
it's so weird. So now this is the turning point for Jeff Bridges' character, where he like finally believes, oh my God, she really has been seeing this ghost the whole time. Why? Again, because this is such a weird secret. Like, okay, so you maybe lost your virginity to this girl. No, you didn't. It was you caught her with your father, and that's a big dark secret. That somehow that's the secret that Jolly knows. That is going to be what. I just thought it was such a stupid reason for him to believe in the ghost.
I think it's because of the details now.
Yeah, but
Like I
even
said,
that, why
he
are these
said-
the details? Again, if it was something that...
Well, the details are only because we already talked about this this Del Florio character, and we had to flesh that out. Like, and I'm not saying you couldn't have some other event or whatever, or him just talk about, like, remember when you were 5 years old and you ran into a bird bath and knocked your teeth out or something like that. Like, he could have done that, but we already set this Del Florio thing up. So the reveal of his father being a creep. No, you're right. It doesn't
It
make
was
any
stupid.
sense.
It was
doesn't have to be
stupid.
there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You've already said this movie's stupid. You started the podcast by saying this movie's stupid. I don't know that you've ever done that before, and we have watched some really stupid movies. All right. So this is where I thought the movie took a bizarre turn, because suddenly Jeff Bridges believes, and I was like, okay, well, now this is going to lead to more like wacky hijinks where he's trying to talk to James Caan, or the three of them are talking together to him. No, his idea is that this must be the devil or
This is
something.
where we need the Whoopi Goldberg character. This is where he should seek out
Right.
this crazy psychic that's going to help him have a relationship
Yes.
with the husband, or this is where he should find a ghostbustery paranormal expert type of person.
See, you're thinking about this even more differently than I was. I thought this was the time where he would go back to Sally Field and be like, I believe you now. Let's sit down, me, you, and this ghost, and sort this shit out. Like, I really thought
That he
that's
was
where
gonna
this
come
was
from
going.
yeah.
Yeah, I did not expect him to go to his boss, who used to be a priest for some reason, doesn't do that anymore. Now he digs up mummies or something like that. And he says, hey, can you exorcise ghosts? And the guy's like, shit, yeah, man. That's all priests do all the time. I got my gear and everything. I guess I'll come to your rehearsal dinner, because remember when Sally Field said she didn't want to see you? I guess that didn't mean
No.
anything. And you're still getting married. Your rehearsal dinner's tonight. How about
I'll
I
be
go
there.
and
I'll
take
bring
care
my
of this?
holy
Yes,
water.
exactly. Yes. Uh-huh. So there are two things happening, and two big things happening at this rehearsal dinner. Three. One is there's supposed to be a rehearsal. Two is Jeff Bridges is going to try and exorcise this ghost from the house. Three is that Sally Field's friend Emily wants to see Jolly and has a few things to say. Because, surprise, surprise, her entertainer of a husband was a bit of a philandering
A little
creep.
bit of a gigolo. A little bit of a gigolo. And it's funny because her best friend is like, you couldn't have not known this. And she's like, wow.
Yes, her
And they talk about some girl, some younger girl, and she's like, she was underage, and he doesn't even try to deny it necessarily. He's like, I mean, look at me, I'm handsome, I'm James Caan.
Yeah, when it came out that James Caan fucked the kid, and she's like, that girl needed working papers. I was like, well, was she 15? This is horrible.
But he's kind of like, well, yeah. And then even when she's
Yeah.
not as mad as I think she should be that her best friend slept with him. But her best friend is like, yeah, oh, please. I was like, there were so many others before me, so what does it really matter? And then so many others after
Emily-
me.
Yeah, her best friend at one point goes, I was surprised you married him knowing his
Yeah.
reputation. And that's when I was like, wait. And I'm just looking at these three characters in the room, and I'm like, I think you're all to blame,
Yeah.
I guess. Like, I don't know who I'm
Well,
rooting
it's
for
almost
now.
like she needed this whole thing to be reminded of what a sleaze
Yeah.
he was. Because even then, it doesn't take her long to be like, oh yeah, you know what, I wasn't really ever, this is sort of her turning point to realize,
Yes, yes. I think though she should have been like a little more honest with this, because when she says to him like, you know what? Yeah, it wasn't a great relationship, and I actually really do love Rupert. I wanted her to be like, it wasn't a good relationship, and I don't know if I can give it a try with this guy. Like, that's what it feels like. Like we said, they really don't have any chemistry together, and it doesn't seem like they're in love. But it just seems strange how she's like, oh yeah. I mean, I understand. I guess 3 years was a long time ago, and like anything, she's only remembering the good times, of
Right.
course. But it really is just, it hits her like a ton of bricks. Like, oh yeah, this ghost was kind of a
Yeah.
creep, and he was sleeping with everyone else, I guess. And I think I knew about it. And maybe having him living in this house now isn't such a
isn't the
great
best.
idea.
Yeah.
So, okay. So now let's talk about what's happening with The Exorcist. Because this dopey guy who can't hang a picture right decides to go up into the attic and play with the electricity
Yeah, I don't know.
for some reason. And he ends up getting locked in the attic. And the dog that doesn't like Jeff
Oh yeah,
Bridges,
from the beginning is always barking at him. Yeah.
yes, goes up into the attic, sits in front of this locked door under what appears to be a spotlight.
It is kind of cute because the dog has these little gestures where it moves its head, and its ears,
it's so
and its
amazing.
little panty tongue. But the guy and
Also,
Jeff,
I
go
think,
ahead.
yeah. I was going to say, I think it's very smart how the priest walks up to this attic and he sees this dog, and he's convinced himself for some reason that he must have possessed
Right.
this dog. And he's talking to the dog and getting responses from the guy that's trapped, because he's like, are you trapped in there? And the guy's like, I am. And he goes, it must be really terrible. And the guy's like, it's not great, it's okay. But every time this guy's answering, we just see this dog's
Yeah.
face. And I really found it funny. This was very effective. The guy throws holy water at the dog, and like a dog, if you throw water at it, it's going to run away. And that's what sort of like, it freaks this priest out. He walks downstairs. Does he drop his holy water, or is he drinking booze?
No, he's drinking booze, and yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. So he's like, I'm totally out of here, but P.S. it's inside the dog. I got to go. This is some scary shit going on here. So now, oh my God, downstairs now, they're about to do the rehearsal, but Sally Field has to have it, out with Jolly one last time. So they go into a room together, and she's like, you're a creep, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But wait, were you really doing this just so I'd learn that I really do love Rupert? And he's like, you got me. In the meantime, Jeff Bridges is threatening a dog. I told you before, but when he picks up the dog and slams it against the wall, and he's holding a dog against the wall, threatening it. I really found that
Because he's done. He looks at the dog and he's like, I don't want you to mess up my marriage. He believes that it's Jolly in the dog. Because again, as we said, the dog has never really liked him. It's always been barky and nippy at him.
Yes.
Now, in the meantime, the guy is still stuck trying to fix the electrical wiring. And so at the same time that Jeff Bridges is kind of getting to the dog, right? Isn't this when the wire...
He dumps, he dumps holy water all over this dog, and at the same time, this guy, I don't know, he's a clumsy oaf. Like something falls against the fuse box, and all the lights in the whole house flicker and everything. So Jeff Bridges is convinced that now Jolly is gone. Sally Field knows that Jolly is gone because he did say, "Kiss me goodbye." He gets the titular line, and when she turns around, he's gone. So they decide to get married, but Jeff Bridges trips and falls down the stairs and doesn't die.
No. Unlike her Jolly.
Right. Yes. And then he gets up, her mother loves
Yep.
him suddenly, and for some reason James Caan appears at the top of the steps.
Just kind of giving her the okay, Sally.
And that's the end of this movie. I know I flew through the end of this, but I could tell Jamie was getting impatient. So I decided we better move it
I
along.
mean, just hearing the premise, audience, just knowing that it's about this woman and her ghosty husband who dances around things. And I mean, essentially, the spirit of her husband came to give her closure so that she could really. But again, she's not head over heels for Jeff Bridges either. What she's head over heels for is the goddamn house. She needs a reason to live in that house. And she's like, well, I can't live in here alone. People will think that's weird. But if I'm married to somebody, then that looks a little more normal. So that's what she needs Jeff Bridges for. Not because she loves him.
I can't live in here alone. That would be weird. I also can't tell people I'm living with my dead
Right.
husband.
So I need to
That's
pull
weird.
somebody else into this. Yeah. So you enjoyed it though. I know you did. I
really,
could see
yes,
that you
I
did.
did. I thought it was fun. I have to say, I'm a little surprised that you
Really?
didn't. I thought, normally I can tell when you don't like
Yeah.
something while I'm watching it. And while there were times where I was like, okay, the comedy's pretty bad here. Like, this isn't as funny as it should be. In the end, I was kind of like, I sort
You
of
enjoyed
enjoyed
it.
this. It was a change of pace. I feel like we watch so many
Better movies.
like sure. I was gonna say I feel like we watch so many genre movies, and we watch like horror movies, and we watch action movies, and we even watch like super all in 80s teen comedies and stuff. And I was like, this is so different. So maybe that's why I liked it more than I probably should.
All right. You don't have to give yourself excuses. Maybe this is just like I said. Maybe you do like Hallmarky movies. Maybe you are into romantic comedies where the partners don't click necessarily, where the chemistry is just, because that was another thing. I thought the chemistry was off between them. I liked all those actors. I did appreciate some of the comedic timing and some of the jokes here and there. Very few of them got me to laugh out loud. I just thought the premise of the whole thing was just kind of goofy and lame, and not goofy funny, goofy like stupid. The good thing is the actors are all really good, so there's decent performances. But again, there's even not enough meat for it to be. And I know it's a romantic comedy, so how much do you want to give them to do? But I mean,
But also,
Jeff
like-
Bridges is very handsome in it, so there's that.
He is. If you like that, like, I don't know, like Boy Next Door look, like the most clean cut I think I've ever seen Jeff Bridges. It's something where if you watch him in this movie, you'll be like, that's not the same guy in the
It's
Big
not the Big
Lebowski.
Lebowski
there's
Bridges,
no
yeah.
way at all.
No.
Like, it's really funny. It does really look like he's in the late 50s or early 60s, like on the set of Dopey Donuts or something. It's very bizarre. So, okay. So we had two very different
Well, there you
opinions
go.
this
It's a
movie.
good
That
way to
was
start
fun.
the
That was
year.
fun.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
go? Oh,
Sure,
okay.
I do. A little tap dancing. I think I might have recommended, so I'm going to go with two, because I think I recommended this when we did Break-In. It's not a movie, but I might have. I'm not sure. The Nicholas, if you just Google, YouTube, whatever, the Nicholas brothers are those two. They were in that movie, not Some Like It Hot. Oh, that old movie with, what's her name? They're these two tap dancing brothers from Philadelphia from the 30s. Did I talk about them when we did?
I have no idea
They're
what
called
you're
the
talking
Nicholas
about at
brothers.
all.
Just Google it or just look it up on YouTube. They were
Okay.
in, Strange Fruit is the movie from, what is it, the 30s? They're these amazing, they do a scene in that movie, but they're these amazing little tap dancing brothers that just do these like beyond Fred Astaire little routines kind of thing. Really fancy footwork. But while I was researching them and playing around with them, of course, and I forgot, when I was a kid, I used to love Shirley Temple movies.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And she's that little tap dancing little freak. And I was trying to remember if she ever did a movie where she was tap dancing with a ghost. or anything like that. But lots of her movies were about her being an orphan. That's probably why, you know how I have an affinity with orphans.
You sure do.
But,
Sure do.
yeah, so I got, I guess, two recommendations: Google and YouTube the Nicholas Brothers, and go on and watch some old. Two of my favorites were The Little Princess and the Shirley Temple movie Bluebird. So, but they all of her movies have kind of the same premise, where she's like, yeah. Anyway,
I wanna know how many times people have referred to Shirley Temple as that tap dancing little freak. Only on this show, folks. It's the only place you're gonna get that. All right, I am gonna recommend, because I watched it. I was supposed to go on another show to talk about this movie, but I couldn't make it because my family doesn't understand that podcasting is more important.
oh my,
So, yes. But it's a movie from 1972 called Images. It's really, really great. It's a movie much like this. A woman kind of has a psychotic break, and she's married, but then starts to see a man that she used to have an affair with, who died 3 years ago.
So it's not her
And
husband;
then
it's
she
a
starts-
lover.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And her husband takes her away to this cottage. He's like, you need a little bit of time alone. And also this other dude shows up at the house that I guess she also had an affair
What a
with.
hussy.
And he's real. Yeah. And he's real, but the three men all like like one guy will walk around the corner and the other guy will come out. So you're
Are they
never
all an
sure as
illusion
to-
in her head?
No, I mean her husband's
Okay.
real and this other guy's real, but she sees them all as each other at times, and then they will turn into one another. And it's really great for a movie from 72 where, you know, I mean, this is such a precursor to like Mulholland Drive, but it's sort of the same thing. It's very smart, and it's kind of scary and very bizarre.
All
so.
those things that this movie wasn't. Smart, scary,
Scary.
fun.
I don't know if this movie would have worked if they tried to make it scary. All right. Oh, hey, speaking of movies you like, just to give you a heads up, the next movie is not your birthday
Okay.
movie, but the movie after that.
It'll be
will
coming up.
So
I wonder if it'll be a movie
start
about
to-
an orphan.
I don't know. All I can think of is Annie. But you know what? You type in orphan 80s movies. I'm
There'll
sure
be
there's at
some.
least 20
There'll be
that'll pop
some.
up. Yeah, listen, since we already watched Natty Gann and we already watched Hug a Bunch, I don't know. Now it's just, I don't know what you're going to
I
bring.
don't know either.
So I
I'm not
can't
giving
wait.
it
All right,
any,
well,
nothing
you know
away.
what? If people are interested, just come back in 2 weeks and fast forward through that episode to the end. And then you'll know what Jamie picks for her next episode. But let's talk about what our next episode is going to be. Jamie, January is National Blood Donors
Look
Month.
at that.
So we're going to do a movie, and I don't make any assumptions when you hear the title. The title is called, and we're staying with the same sort of kissing idea. It's called Vampire's Kiss, which sounds scary. It's not a horror movie.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's a comedy, perhaps an unintentional comedy. Nick Cage thinks he's a vampire. He runs around with like fake plastic vampire teeth in his mouth. And also, you've seen Nick Cage memes online, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
90% of what you've seen are from this
Okay.
movie. It is a performance for the
Excellent.
ages. It's very unhinged. So that's going to be our next movie. That will be in 2
Gotcha.
weeks. So, first of all, sorry. And by first of all, I mean last. Jamie, this was a patron suggested
No
movie.
way.
So after you've said
Oh,
all those terrible
I'm sorry,
things, now that you
patron.
know, this is from Laura, who, listen, Laura's batting 1,000 with you, kind of. She's the one that recommended we watch Ishtar last
Oh
year.
yes.
And now this. But, I mean, first of all, Laura, I enjoyed this movie. But I do think it's important to say that Laura is the one who also brought us Spellbinder over the summer,
okay.
which was a treat.
Yes.
So thanks,
Thanks,
Laura.
Laura.
We really appreciate this. And if people are interested in supporting the show, just go to patreon.com/goodtimesgreatmovies. Follow us on the Facebooks and the Twitters
All
and
the socials.
Instagrams. We are there. You can find us. Good Times, Great Movies. We're the only game in town if you type that in. If you type those words in that order into any search engine, we're the ones that come up. So until next time, everybody, have a great 2 weeks.
Stay breezy.
Easy breezy, beautiful. Kiss me goodbye.
Go away, make love all day. You'll never stay, but it's a nice dream. Just me for you, our whole life through. It won't come true, but it's a nice dream.